Thank you to my patrons Anson Hart and Tavis Rucker for making these videos possible. What's going on, y'all? It's Calcoscope back with another video. Today I'll be breaking down Jamal Murray Mile High artwork in Photoshop. This video will feature a mix between me going through this actual project file and also a live stream where I got a lot of things done, but over time this developed into what you see before you. I do want to note that this piece had more of a hyper-realistic vibe, but still kept a lot of the normal elements that you would normally see at a mountain range picture, not like a galaxy background or even like those nebula lightning strikes in the front of the scene. And I wanted to say that when you're doing artwork and you're doing a piece, it's just important to keep your mind open and let the art flow as it's going to do that, and don't give up on a piece. This piece was something that I was definitely having a long time to figure out what exactly I wanted to showcase and what I wanted to see. So just stay in it when you're doing an art piece. Let it fold, let it marinate. Maybe take even a day off, take some time off and go figure out something else that you'd like to do with your life besides staring at the canvas, because that time off can really help you and accelerate your process of figuring out your next move. We can start with the Jamal Murray mask, which is usually the first thing that I end up doing for a scene. So if we just double click into here, this is the Jamal Murray retouchment, or retouch, whatever you would like to call it. I added a little bit of topaz clarity on the top, and playing on the reds with skin tones, it helps bring out different type of boost in the saturation of skin that I like to see. Color balance a little bit just because I wanted to negate some of the yellows that were on his skin. So see, with the color balance, his skin looks more orangey and it's just flush. So of course you're gonna have to blend him into the scene, but I like to do my retouching first, dodge and burn layer. And you guys can definitely take a look at my latest player retouch video. I will keep that in the top right. It'll be in the top right now, flashing. Dodge and burn on a 50% layer on overlay. That's my go-to. And then dodge and burn is over here with O. So dodge is going to make things lighter, and then burn will make things aspects darker. Okay, so exposure, I always have an exposure layer on the eyes just to bring out the eyes a little bit more. Okay, so that's how we did the retouch. As far as the background, the galaxy background, this is just a galaxy stock image from Adobe Stock. This was one of the aspects that developed later when I was just moving along with the piece. So I ended up really liking this background, and it's just so well rendered. So I was like, yes, let's just use this and see what we can do. Gratefully, it worked out the first galaxy background I tried. So then we have a little bit of adjustments on it, a little bit of linear dodge, and a little bit of exposure. Okay, all these mountains just build up, and the biggest thing with your mountains and just blending the scene is knowing that the aspects that are going to be in the background are going to be less saturated in most cases because they're hazed out. They have haze, like when you look at a mountain and it's got that haze. So color balanced in, more blue matching the scene, curves, definitely going to bring some highlights down, and then hue and saturation finishes it off and makes it so it just fits well. Then we add a little bit of haze on top. My haze layers are usually on normal, so you see this layer's on normal. And I'll just take a sample color, so I hold down Alt or Option on the Mac. I'll take a sample color from the sky that I'm using, and then drop my flow and brush it over, like not like that, not as much like that, but see how that makes it blend in. And it's a super simple way to blend in your scene. Back right mountain, right here. There's the mask once again. We'll bring that back in. Added some haze to Jamal Murray's shoulders just because there's that green element right here of the background. So added a little bit of green haze as well. So you guys will see that I just have a lot of haze layers in my projects. There's a small scatter explosion. This was the initial explosion that I had. You can barely see that explosion now, but that's okay. So these front mountains have this spacey vibe on them. And what is this spacey vibe? This spacey vibe is just a couple of stock images. If we right click and delete this layer mask, see, it's just a nice stock image of a sky, but it works because if you put this sky, which is on screen, so I put the sky on screen, now I'm just putting it down below, so you're only going to see the parts that aren't very, very dark, so you're seeing those highlights come out. That's what screen does. If you have a black image but you have some white speckles in it, but you put it on screen, it's going to actually hide that black, and it's just going to show the white speckles. That's what screen does. It just brings out your highlights of a layer. So I did the same thing on the other one. I added a little bit of motion blur just so it wasn't so stagnant, and so that it flowed with this rock explosion that I want to go over as well. So this rock explosion took up a lot of area on that bottom because of the big pickaxe right here. Just the pickaxe from Envato Elements, and then I added my adjustments to it: hue and saturation, curves, exposure, color balance. Color balance is very, very subtle, but made it a little bit more blue, right? Made it a little bit more blue. And the hue and saturation was the big part of this from the sky. You take notice of what color is dominant of the sky, put your hue and saturation on, move your slider to where it should be, right? And then just go in with your layer mask. So after that, here's the rock explosion. Let's get back to that breakdown layer of just smoke and rocks, really. Put color balance on it and hue and saturation. See the color balance. Color balance is super, super important. Just get very comfortable with color balance. It's easier than trying to use curves on the red, blue, and green sliders because you just have so much control and you can easily see it just off the bat, right? So get really comfortable with color balance. And hue and saturation, I added some more of that blue that I just showcased on the pickaxe on some areas of the rock. So yeah, right there. Just brush it on. Just keep your opacity and your flow low and then brush it on. As far as these asteroids really help to create the depth as well as the pickaxe, but the asteroids really help create depth because they're in the front, but they are blurred. Added a gradient map, making them more of that brownish tint from the mountains, just so that they blend in with the mountains and you can see that, okay, that makes sense that they're from the mountains. And then this exposure layer is super important because aspects that are closer to the viewer and farther away from the light source, they're going to be dark. So not only does putting Gaussian blur and motion blur on the asteroids help it to blend into the scene, it also showcases that, okay, this is actually super, super close to the viewfinder or whoever's taking this photo, right? Because at the end of the day, an artwork has to be taken by a photo and you're really thinking through a lens. So when you're creating, think through a lens. That has helped me out. Someone had to take this photo, right? Someone had to take this photo, whether it's in your mind right now, but that'll help you to understand and create aspects of a design that look more realistic in a sense. No matter if it's fantasy or not, you still want to have their fundamentals down. How much haze should I put in this scene? How much blur should I put to these objects in motion? If it's closer to the viewfinder or not in focus, how blurred should it be? How should the background look? What are my colors? All those types of things, right? They all add up. These are all layers of pretty much haze. So you see the smoke layer in front, bottom smoke, multiply. Sometimes I go on my mask and make them a little bit darker. See how this makes it a little bit darker, makes it a little bit more realistic. Last thing I want to do is show you guys how I got the eyes glowing. So it's going to be a quick little something on how to get your eyes looking nice. So first things first, let's take off these linear dodge layers and let's break it down. We go on the eyes base. This is where we're going to start. So what you're going to start with is just a normal color. So it's just a normal color on this tone, whatever this tone is for yellow. You want to start with something that is very bright. So it's going to be more bright, but it's going to be kind of desaturated, not super saturated in the beginning, because you still want to have the glow is going to be the brightest towards the center. As you get further away, that's where you're going to start getting more of your shades. Okay, so I added an inner shadow on this on linear dodge, just like I do on my mask, just to have that nice outline. It's blended a little bit more so the size can vary a little bit more for this layer. Okay, so see how that first layer is just very desaturated. Not very desaturated, but it's desaturated and it's also bright. Second thing I did is I added my eyes hue, so everything that's going to be hued around the eyes. So I added a hue and saturation layer. If you check the properties, the saturation is now it's up pretty high, and it's also not very bright. The lightness isn't as high as it was before. So I just go on a layer mask and I paint with a white. Okay, so I paint with white on a layer mask on a low flow once again, and I just really take my time to get all the areas that I want to have covered in light, and I'm thinking about where the light from the eyes would go. And then the last important part is the haze over the top. So the haze over the top that's not clipped to the mask at all. So saturated, very saturated. Once again, very bright but very saturated, so that takes away a lot of the brightness and really punches home the layer, and it's on linear dodge. Okay, so that's a quick tutorial on how to do the eye glow. I can do an eye glow tutorial though. Let me know down below if you want an updated eye glow tutorial. I can definitely bring that to you guys. With that being said, that's gonna do it for the breakdown of this piece right here, Jamal Murray. Really hope that you guys enjoyed and learned a couple new things today. If you haven't yet, be sure to become a Patreon member today. My Patreon supporters get my project files, live stream playbacks, and new texture and asset pack drops monthly, and it helps me out as a creator. That being said, make sure you guys subscribe, tell a friend about the channel, like up the video, turn those notifications on, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Let me know if you want that eye glow tutorial. It's been Calso Scoped. Stay scoped, guys. Peace.